And, you and I both know the fact that you can see that is not necessarily going to change the way things go by itself, because your brain is thoroughly conditioned for it to be the other way. So, as soon as you engage with this world of time, space, and separate people and whatnot, you'll be pulled into, that you have to deal with it that way. This is the thing about it that makes these practices so important, right? And remember, it's very important to understand, because your mind and your brain does not relate to it this way. It's very important to understand that meditation is a practice, right? And it will always be a practice. You will never get to the performance. There will never be a performance. You will never be at a place where you will be told, okay, you've been practicing meditation all this time now. Now let me see you do it. Let's see it. Demonstrate it. Perform for me. Perform meditation for me. That's never going to happen, right? You can practice meditation. The teacher that I was practicing with last week has been doing this for 45 years. And when I was with him, we sat together and practiced. Same practice. My practice and his practice, the same practice after 45 years, right? Well, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the deal is here in terms of, what we need to do in order to get out of the program that we're living our lives in, out of the conditioning, the program that we're living our lives in, right? Because it's reinforced all the time, isn't it? As you move around in the world, it keeps reinforcing, the time-space reality. It keeps reinforcing that, no, I am separate from you. It keeps reinforcing that, that the person that's slowed down in front of me in traffic is a jerk. And all you have to do is watch TV to have the reinforcement of the reinforcement, right? You listen to the news. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but the news is not just the news. Right? The news is being presented to us in a certain way that reinforces the idea of the reality that we share with one another, doesn't it? Yeah, it reinforces the idea of the reality that we share with one another. And so this business of being awake and knowing the truth is something that, while it is, as you said so clearly and simply, it's that simple. While it's that simple, it's one thing for it to be seen that way. It's another thing to live as that awareness. That's another story, to live as that awareness. The awareness that you and I are, the awareness has always been here, has it not? Is there any time in your life from the earliest memories you have of existing up until now, is there any time that you can point to where whatever was going on inside and out, that there was an awareness of it?
When I was under anesthesia.
Okay, well, it's that falls into the, now this is an interesting thing, because that falls into the category of deep sleep. People say, well, anesthesia or deep sleep, right? When I am in deep sleep, I'm not dreaming, there's nothing there, right? So, and when I'm under anesthesia, I am unaware of anything, there's nothing there, right? Well, there's no object for the subject to be aware of, but there's still an awareness of existence, because when you wake up, right, what do you say? What do we say, Brian, when we wake up from anesthesia? That you look forward to it.
It was great.
That it was great, right? You wake up from, so how could you say that if there was no awareness? You say that, just naturally. Oh, wow, man, that was, and I've been under anesthesia, I love it, right? It's so peaceful, so restful. You wake up and you're in such a calm place, right? Yeah. So there's an awareness of it, but it doesn't register in the brain or the mind, because the only thing that registers in the brain and the mind is the awareness of something that you're the subject and that's the object. But when there's just awareness, there's no object. This is important to understand, because people who fear what it's like to be dead, right? They're fearing the absence of the reality in which there's a world out there and I'm here and it's there and I'm in the world, right? When I die, I'm afraid that stops. I'm not here, that's not there, the whole thing's over, right? No, but in the experience of post-death, right, there's an awareness without anything to be aware of. It's just awareness experiencing being aware of itself. That's inconceivable for us who are used to this is inside and that's outside, I'm in the world. And so that's inconceivable, right, for that to be the case. And the way the mind and the brain processes things like that is like with fear, I won't be here anymore. This won't be here anymore. Right? It's a concession. The reason that religion exists is it's a concession. People can't, people find what we're talking about here to be nonsensical. The average person finds this to be nonsensical. If you don't believe me, try talking about it, right? But they can accept religion because religion just lays it out like a nice story, like Santa Claus. You know what I mean? There's this guy, or a girl, whatever you want. There's something there, and it's up there, not down here. And, and if you behave yourself, everything will be fine. You won't have to die, right? But that's a story you tell to a child, right? But most people are children, right? And so they need something that they can have faith in to deal with their fear of death. That's the simplicity of the whole thing. Need something it's two parts. They need something to have faith in to deal with their fear of death, and they need something to be afraid of so that they'll behave themselves, right? Or you'll go to hell, right? So that's all it is. It's just crowd control. It's just crowd control and a nice story like Santa Claus, Santa Claus is the same thing, right? You better watch out, right? Because you're always being watched, and you're not going to get your presents if you don't behave yourself. It's religion turned into something for children, right? Yeah, you've been baptized by the Dharma. You've heard the truth. And the hearing of the truth has landed for you to be relevant and significant. It's landed for you to be something that is useful in relationship to what you're dealing with all the time, which is being a human being. Something that's useful to what you're dealing with all the time, which is living the life of a human being and dealing with what that implies. Because what it implies suffering. Yeah, to be a human being and know yourself as nothing other than that, it implies suffering. Because it means you're a physical body, right away you're going to suffer. It means you're separate from the rest of humanity, right away you're going to suffer. It means you live in time, right away you're going to die. And so the whole thing is a bad scene, right? And then of course you do what everybody's spending most of their energy and money and time doing, right? You spend most of your time, energy, and money doing what? Playing the game of more, different, and better, right? Playing the game of more, different, and better, and playing the game of distracting yourself. If you look around, that's all that's going on here. Everybody's improving, right? Everybody's trying to avoid getting worse and more better, less worse, right? More fun, less not fun. More pleasure, less pain. And we'll spend all our time, money, and energy in pursuing happiness, right? We'll spend all our money and time avoiding suffering and avoiding pain. And of course, none of that works, right? And so we end up being crazy. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, thinking it's going to be different the next time, right? That's what everybody's doing. It's a pattern. You get up in the morning, you go through the same pattern. You get up in the morning, you immediately identify yourself as a body and a person, and you're in the world of time and space, right? And so then the voice in your head starts running, oh shit, right? Yeah. And then you look at the day and think, And so you start looking, so then you use looking forward as a way of managing it, right? I can deal with today because Friday's coming. I can deal with this week because Christmas is coming. I can deal with my career because retirement is coming.
You wish your life away, really.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's never lasting.
Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't work is the bottom line. It doesn't work. No matter what you get, that's not it, right? No matter what you get. Even people that get the ultimate, right? Even people that get the ultimate discover that it's not it. People that have so much money that their full-time job is spending it. And they can't think of anything else to buy. They can't imagine what to buy next. What am I going to do? And then their accountants say to them, don't worry about buying anything new, worry about keeping what you got, right? Hire more lawyers, hire more accountants, find more tax shelters, right? So you don't lose all your millions of dollars. And so now the solution becomes the new problem. You know, all you wanted was the money to be happy, and now your life is about being terrified losing the money. That didn't make you happy anyway. No wonder her lottery winners have the highest suicide rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, everybody, that's the experiment everybody wants to be involved in, is, you know, that they want to, you know, they want to try it. They want to be a millionaire to make sure that they're positive that it doesn't work, because they still have this lingering idea that, no, I think it would work. I think it would work. Well, it is the case. Like, it's just like Ramesh Balsekar says, you know, when people come to him to talk to him about the Dharma, about the truth, well, the first thing he asks them is, you know, what's your situation? You know what I mean? Are you above the poverty line, right? And if the answer is no, that they're struggling, then he says, you don't want to talk to me. Go make money, go get food, go get shelter, right? And so it's like Maslow said on the hierarchy of what was it? The hierarchy of self, what was the word that he used? He's got a pyramid. Yeah, hierarchy of self-realization. That on the bottom, those people are struggling from day to day to survive, right? So this conversation is not appropriate for them. You know, they can't afford it, right? Literally can't afford it, right? Right. So you have to be at a certain point to be to sufficiently have handled your fundamental needs to sit here and have this conversation, right? Otherwise, you'd be out there, you know, trying to get some money, right? So that suffering is legitimate, real suffering. You know, it's not. None of this is to say that the suffering that exists in the world in terms of starvation, you know, and all the rest of it that has to do with the inequity of money in the world is not real. It's definitely real, right? And so that's the reality of it. But since you are fortunate enough to be here, and you do obviously hear the message, otherwise I'm sure, especially you guys who've been coming on for pretty regular, right, wouldn't continue to do that, right? And if you have an established meditation practice, which I hope that you do, I mean, if you've been coming this long and you don't have an established meditation practice, shame on you. Because you're not doing what works in order to produce the result that we're talking about here. And not to do that means that you're still in some state of ignorance. Do you understand? Until and unless you get to a point where it's absolutely crystal clear to you that what we're talking about here is without any doubt the most important subject of your life, until and unless you get to that place, you are still suffering from ignorance. Because if you see this for what it is, that's the case. It's as simple as that. If you see this for what it is, that's the case. And the ignorance will manifest itself in your being here with the idea that this is a class, like they have it listed out there, right? If the idea you have that this is a class and you're coming here to learn some interesting stuff, right? That makes this an academic experience. That makes this something other than what it really is, which is an opportunity for you to hear the word. You know, it's an opportunity for you to get the message, an opportunity for you to make contact with the truth, right? And so if you're still here that way and you're listening that way and you're listening for information, right, then there's ignorance where you are. There's still ignorance there. And so you've got to get clear what we're dealing with here and what we're talking about here. We're talking about here, you're coming to grips with the truth. You're facing reality. You're facing life. You're being audacious, having the audacity to look life in the eyes, to look death in the eyes, having the audacity to face things as they are. Right? And not hide from it anymore, and not self-medicate from it anymore, and not distract yourself from it anymore, but to be there and make contact with the way things actually are, right? And the way things actually are is that the body that you have mistakenly taken yourself to be is on its way out. Please look in the mirror and say goodbye. It's the truth. When you do that, you're making contact with reality, right? And for those of us who are older, because the body's kind of helping us to see things as they are, isn't it? Yeah. But you look at the body, it is impermanent. It is showing the effect of time, right? The wrinkles are occurring, the hair's falling out, the belly's getting fat, the energy's going down. This is, all of us here. What's all of us here are on the down, right? We're on the downswing, right? That's why young people don't come here, right? Because they're still totally involved in the idea that they're going to make it work, right? They're excited about making it work. They're going to make money. They're going to have hot sex. They're going to get married and have a family, and they're looking forward to all of that, right? They're going to have it, right? So they're still buying the lies. And it's understandable that they're still buying the lies because it's coming at them a mile a minute, and the whole world is living in that dream. And it's not for them, for most of them, they don't have exposure to anything but that. So how could it be otherwise, right? So, but then when you get older, you have to go, see, when you get older and the body starts to show wear and tear and it's starting to be evident that it's going to drop, right? Then you've got to deal with that somehow. You either got to do more distraction, right? Start drinking heavier, right? Watch more TV, sleep longer, get some meds from your doctor, right? You got to do something, right, to deal with that.
Some people turn to more religion.
That's right, more religion, right? Give more money to the church to see if you can buy your way into heaven, whatever. And then you see people, if you go across the way here to some of these retirement places, there are a lot of them around here, right? These senior living places, right? And you walk through there, a lot of the people who've been old for a while, right? Their way of dealing with the fact in the mirror, right, is to just go south. They just sit there and stare. It's like they just vacate the experience of being here completely, right? So that's the brain's way of adapting, right? That's the brain's way of adapting. Because if what I have to do to survive, given the circumstances I find myself in, right, is to go completely blank, you know what I mean, and become catatonic, then the system will produce that because it's a survival machine, right? So what we're here to do is to talk about the possibility of using meditation as a practice that you can come out of your suffering, that you can be liberated from the future that is going to occur for you unless you wake up. So it has to be the most important thing for you in order for you to muster up the attention necessary, because you have to pay attention consistently to the machine that's running your life. You have to pay attention consistently to what's going on in the mind and start to take care of it instead of being its slave. Yeah. So when we talk about meditation and we say that, the practice of meditation it's really the awareness making contact with the physical body. And see, because when you're thinking, you think you are the body, right? So if you're not thinking and you're paying attention, you can pay attention to the body and notice that it is in awareness, that the body's sitting here breathing, and there's an awareness of that. You are not that, you are aware of that. That's what there is to experience when you're practicing meditation and you come out of the thought process, because in the thought process, you think you are the body, and you think you are a person, and that puts you in the world, the whole world of that, and you live in that world, right? So we're practicing time out of, that was one of my favorite Steely Dan songs, Time Out of Mind, right? Good song, right? We're practicing time out of mind, right? And so not only is it a matter of the awareness being aware of the body breathing and the body sitting, right? But then if that is something that starts to become a something that starts to show up when you're not practicing formal meditation. It will then follow, awareness of the body, awareness of the breath, but also, I am not the mind. I have awareness of the mind. I have awareness of thoughts. I am not the thoughts. I'm not the thinker. I am not the mind. I have awareness of them. I am not the emotions. You know, you may look at that and say, okay, well, I can get I'm not the emotions. Yeah, but in the middle of experiencing emotions, what do people say? I am anger. I am angry. I am sad. I am hurt. I am afraid. You be the emotion, right? You identify yourself with the emotion the same way you identify yourself with the thoughts in your mind, right? I am thinking those thoughts. So we're coming out of all that and we're coming to the recognition and the realization that this awareness that has been here all along for everything that's happened, good, bad, right, wrong, and otherwise, it's been here all along without discrimination, without evaluation, without judgment. It's just here. It's just here. It's been here all along. And the shift is the shift from I am aware, right? You can ask anybody walking around, right? Are you aware? Yes, I am aware. The shift that we're practicing making here is rather than I am aware, awareness is aware of me. Isn't that so? Isn't it so? Awareness is aware of the body. Awareness is aware of the thoughts. Awareness is aware of the emotions. Awareness is aware of the personality, right? Awareness is aware of the floor. Awareness is aware of the room. Awareness is aware, wait a minute, awareness is aware of everything, isn't it? Yeah, awareness is aware of everything. Awareness is aware of the world. So this awareness has always been there, but I have had it and you've had it that I am aware, right? I think, therefore I think, therefore I am. Right? But now we're saying, no, you have to be here to think first. You have to exist first. There has to be awareness first, right? And how did Descartes get away with that mistake, right? He got away with that mistake because, first of all, he's considered to be an authority and know what he's talking about. That'll cover it for most people, right? Unfortunately. And then the other thing is that was consistent with the way most people experienced it. I think, therefore I am. I am aware, right? Rather than, and if you actually look at it, if you actually look at awareness, of course that's awareness looking at itself, but if you actually look at awareness, you can see that it's the awareness that is aware of everything. Nothing is aware of awareness. Awareness is aware of everything, right? And awareness has always been there. So now the next question is, can you get that that's you? Can you get that that's you? The eye can't see itself. The scale can't weigh itself. But nonetheless, the experience you're having right now of awareness is the experience you're having right now of you. It's the experience you're having right now of God. Oh, wait a minute. Don't go there. But if you pursue these matters and if you look into it and if you study the teachings and if you really get clear that God is not a person, right? That's why they teach in the teachings the teaching of no self. When I was up at the Zen Center last week, part of the practice is chanting, right? And we would chant the Heart Sutra. Anybody know what the Heart Sutra is? Yeah. The Heart Sutra is considered to be the most concise expression of the truth in one teaching, right? So we chant that. We chant it. It's a sutra is a teaching. The word sutra means a teaching. The Heart Sutra is the heart of the matter. It's the teaching it's the teaching of transcendental wisdom. It is the teaching of transcendental wisdom, right? And so, well, it's chanted, but it's not a chant per se. It's a scripture. It's a teaching, like the Bible's a teaching, right? And so you read it, you chant it. And the reason we chant it is because you're chanting it just like you were repeating the ABCs when you were a kid in school, right? A, B, C, D, E, right? You're chanting it for the same reason, by repetition, by repeating it to the brain and the mind. You want to get it in there. You want to get that in there, right? You want to replace the conditioning that was incorrect with the truth. You want to get that in there. And so chanting is one way to do that.
Are you chanting in English or Sanskrit?
Well, when it's practiced in the Zen, though, when it's practiced in the Zen tradition, they chant it first in Japanese, which is fun to listen to. So, but they don't expect you to be able to follow that. But then after they chant it in Japanese, then they chant it in English. And so you get to actually chant the words, right?
Is that something you can find online?
Yes. Yeah. If you just Google the Heart Sutra, it'll be there. And if you Google the Heart Sutra and you read the Heart Sutra, you'll see what I mean. Everything that I have ever said here, anything that, all the teachings that are the essence of Buddhism and the essence of mystical Christianity and the essence of any fundamental real teaching of the truth is contained in that one reading, right? So I recommend that you look. I'll see if I can remember to bring it in next time, right? So that's something that I would recommend that you read. The more you read it, it's like reading anything else. You're familiarizing yourself with it. It's becoming more common. You're seeing more of it every time you look like that. And so you want to do everything that you can possibly do to maintain your movement, right, in terms of this realization. And the thing that is always critical to keep in mind is that we're not going somewhere. This is not going anywhere. This practice of meditation and you're studying the teachings and you're contemplating the teachings and you're reflecting on the teachings. This is not going anywhere, right? All of the purpose of it is simply to see things as they are. See, that's not going. The way things are is not going anywhere. It is the way it is, right? The purpose of all this is to simply see things as they are, but in order to do that, you have to be familiar with the mistaken ideas that you have about it all, so that stops clouding it, you see? So that stops obscuring it. So that stops being in the way. So you can stop thinking you're the source. That's the reason suffering is so prevalent for humanity, because if you think you're the source, if you think you're the doer, right? If you think you're the cause of your life, which you do, right? Because you think that the actions you take are what causes your life, right? You think you're the doer, right? So if you think you're the doer, you're playing God. And since you're not God, you're going to fail. You don't have the power of God, right? So if you think you're the doer, then you're cutting off your connection to the source. And when you stop thinking you're the doer and you let thy will be done, you reconnect with the source. And then you realize it's not your job to be God. It's your job to be an expression of God, a servant of God, an understanding that you're a vehicle that God produced and put into this time-space reality, right? In order for God to be able to have some fun.
Our whole penal system, we tell people you were the doer. You're going to
That's right. That's right. That's why Ramesh Balsekar says, be careful, because when I say you're not the doer and therefore you have nothing to feel guilty about and therefore you have nothing to be ashamed of, right? Make sure you obey the law, because if you take that on and then because of that you just disregard, right, the law, you're going to end up in prison. You're going to end up in prison, right?
Well, people that don't believe in God, you say their source would be whomever they think is the source, right? A Buddha or something.
Whatever your conception is of that, just like they say in AA, you know, whatever you can come up with to consider that. And the main thing in AA when they say that is the most important part is that you stop thinking you are. And if you stop thinking you are, then you've got to attribute something to the source, right? So come up with something to consider the source other than yourself. That'll work. Because it's all just words, right? God's just a word, right? But the idea of there being a source is not just a word. Yeah. There is a source, and you and I are not the source. Now, that is a step in the direction of the full realization of non-duality, because the complete realization of non-duality brings you all the way around the Enso. That no, you are, first you have to stop thinking you're the source and let go of being the source, and then as you come full circle, you come back to the realization that you are the source. Because after all, remember the basic teachings, all there is consciousness, right? Therefore, there can be nothing but the source. But don't worry about that. Get the first part down first.